I recently applied for this fantastic opportunity that, those opportunities that your life is about to change and go from 0 to 100. And I was excited about it. I had already started making plans around what I was going to do when the good news finally came. And of course, I have track record of getting those kinds of beautiful opportunities. And then I got the love letter. We're sorry to announce to you. You know how they will say things like, "Oh, your application was so outstanding, and among thousands of people that applied, it was a really tough choice, but you didn't make the cut." Hi, my name is Grace Amoka, a Nigerian teacher who shares her life's experience and believes that there are things school should have taught us that we did not learn or they didn't teach us. And that's what I share on this channel. And today I want to share how to bounce back from disappointment and disappointing situations. I know you're familiar with getting either negative feedback or you were expecting something that didn't pan out the way. I've sent out proposals that I thought I totally killed, and they're like, "No, we're not." They don't even say we don't want to work with you just yet. They say no, like flat out no, this isn't part of what we want to do, what we're looking at. And many times it can be very, very discouraging. You've applied for scholarships. I mean, I know people that have applied quite a number of times for scholarship opportunities and it just doesn't come through. And many times there's a tendency to get discouraged for good reason. Yeah. But I want to share a few things that I do and how I think we can bounce back from disappointments, because disappointments they're part of life. See, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. Working in my classroom has taught me to teach my students the reality of life. You're not always going to be an A student. And even if you succeed, because I mean, there are students that have been A students all their lives. But in life, you're not always going to be an A student of life. And that's the reality we need to learn. So the disappointments are not too jarring. You're going to start a business and it will flop. See, this is not a. I feel like we need to be telling our complete stories, because when we say things like, "Oh, I started my business with 20 naira, I started selling pap, and before I knew it, I was in the White House," that's not the complete story. The complete story should be, time will fail me to tell you of how the first business I started, nobody even knows about it today because it didn't work out. I got a grant for my business, but I didn't know anything about hiring. So my staff did me dirty. And here am I in the mud before God changed my story. So if people tell you the entirety of their stories, you realize that every single person, every successful person has experienced times when they heard no. Times when their business failed. Times when they felt like, but I put in my very best into this. So I think the first thing we need to learn, the first thing I'd like to share with you is we need to normalize our disappointing experiences. You're not alone in it. You're not the first person that will send out an application and it will come back negative. Recently, I had sent out a proposal to a school. This is me. Oh. Do you know who I am? They call me the master teacher for a reason. And I've done projects with notable organizations. I've worked with the World Bank. I've consulted for them. I've worked with African Leadership Academy. I currently work with Teacher Leader Institutes, which, by the way, you should watch out for us. I run a public school for teenagers and children. I've coached important people in this world. I've written books. So this is me that should feel like if I send out a proposal to a school, they should jump and say yes. If I even tell you the miserly amount I was asking for, and for some reason the management felt no, the admin in charge maybe likes me too much, and that's why she was advocating for me. Disha said no. Am I disappointed? No, I'm not, because I've normalized that for different reasons people can say no. Number one, it may not be in their budget at the time. Number two, they just may not want to work with you, and it's fine. Everybody is not going to like you in this life because you're not jollof rice. Let's just dive right into what can you do to overcome disappointing situations. The first one is acknowledge the feeling. Acknowledge that it dey pain sometimes. Don't suppress it. Don't go about feeling like, well, I sent out applications for Chevening scholarship. I've also sent applications to Harvard, to Princeton, and all those universities, and they didn't take me. And it's okay. It's all fine. No. Acknowledge that you feel disappointed, that you've spent, if you've done some of these applications, you know the rigor. You send it to your friend, you send it to your mentor, you send it to your coach. Please help me look at this. They dot the I's, cross the T's, scatter your first drafts. You do all of that. Apply for transcripts. The transcripts finally come. You pay for some of them, you pay application fees. You've built your life around the possibility of being on this campus. So acknowledge that I feel badly about this. Name those feelings. For me, sometimes is I feel before I used to feel like maybe I'm not enough, which is not a correct feeling because you can't tie the feeling of a particular situation to your identity. And unfortunately, that's what we do sometimes. So, but that first step of acknowledging a feeling, even when it's a wrong type of feeling, it will help you now move down to invalidate it, to say, the fact that I got turned down by a Princeton, does it mean I'm not enough? No, that's not what it means. It just means I'm not for them for right now. Yeah. So the first step is to acknowledge the feeling and don't suppress it. Then ask, what can I learn from this? And depending on your situation, there can be different lessons. First lesson can be there's some form of politics that goes on, for example, in the business world, whether you like it or you don't like it, whether you like the language of politics or not, there are cases where you need a sponsor. You need someone to speak for you in rooms that you may not be in. So from this experience, are you learning that you should build better connections? So for example, I want to host a big education fair, and the first time I tried it, I tried to do it by myself, and then I realized that no, that's not how they do it. If you're seeking sponsorships and partnerships, you need to work with other people. So see how you can pull people into the projects that you're doing. Someone, for example, that has a good word, that has a good standing in the Ministry of Education, for example, can put in a good word for you. Someone that has a large community of your target audience, if they put in a word for you, that's all you need, rather than trying to organically go after this people. So what are the lessons you're drawing from that experience? There was one university I had my eyes on, and I wanted to do my PhD there. The big lesson I learned, I didn't start my application early. So rather than say, oh, my enemies, my village people, it was not my village people. I did not plan well enough. So I didn't start my application early. And of course, I did not put in a strong enough application. You get? So after acknowledging your feelings, ask yourself, what lessons can I learn from here? It may be about, the lessons may be directly related to you, or they could even be things that are outside your control. So ask yourself, how do I then deal with things within my own control? The next is reframe the narrative. So rather than say, I failed and I'm a failure, no. I put myself out there and I grew from that process. I put myself out there and now I know what it is to apply to a Fortune 500 company. I put myself out there and I have an experience in certain things. Yeah. So reframe the narrative you may be telling yourself rather than say, I'm not enough, because that's not true. You can say, there are other skills that I may need to be able to land this opportunity the next time I put in for it. So reframe the narrative that you're telling yourself. Then reconnect with your purpose. Go back to your why. Why did I even put in for this in the first place? What that will do is it will give you back the energy you need to keep going. So times, for example, where I send out proposals to educational organizations and maybe some come back negative, some I don't even hear from them at all. Going back to my why tells me why it's not time to give up. Give up for what? I sent out 100 proposals, only 2 came back. Give up? Are you a joker? So when you go back to your why did I even start this in the first place? What is the goal I'm looking towards? When I'm able to answer that why, when you're able to answer that why, it will keep you going. It will tell you, I didn't come this far just to come this far. I haven't come this far to give up at this point. Because if the goal is to move from point A to point Z, and then I stop at point O, what happens to all what I've done from point A to point O? I would have wasted it. No, that's not it. So I ask myself, I take myself back to what's my why? Why did I start this in the first place? And it gives me energy. It keeps me going. Yeah. So go back to your why, reconnect with your purpose, and finally start small again. Disappointments can be very disappointing. Yeah. What's that one step you can take that will bring you closer to achieving that goal? That's for goals that you can still go back to and try again. Or in other cases, for example, if it's that they served you breakfast, if you're not in Nigeria, please ask your Nigerian friends what it means to be served breakfast. That's a huge disappointment. What's one step that will bring you closer to closure? So having gone through, oh, what lessons did I learn from this relationship, from this situationship? What's my why? Why am I in the relationship markets in the first place? That doesn't apply. But the point is, what one step can I take towards getting closure for myself? don't don't overestimate or over whatever the concept of closure. You can give yourself closure. So ask yourself today, what is one small thing that I can do to get me closer to the closure that I so desperately need? What is one thing that will get me closer to having a better refined pitch for my business, so that the next time I'm talking to investors, I'm confident in the products, in the service that I'm offering. I'm confident in what the returns are going to be for them. How can I build my personal brand in such a way that the next time I step forward, they would have heard about me before I even entered the room? Yeah. So I hope that you have taken a thing or two. Remember, acknowledge a feeling, ask what you can learn from it, to reframe the narrative, reconnect with your purpose, and start small again. Disappointments don't mean that you're not good enough. It just means that you're brave enough to try. So never forget that. Disappointments don't mean that you're not good enough. It simply means that you're brave enough to try. And kudos to you for being brave. I wish you all the best in your endeavors. And if you haven't subscribed, you want to disappoint me, but I'm going to rise up from that disappointment. Please hit the subscribe button, like this video, comment. Tell me one of the most disappointing experiences that you've had, if you don't mind sharing. Other people can learn from it, and what you did to bounce back. Which of these points stood out most for you? Thank you very much. I look forward to reading your comments. See you on the next one. Bye.